program is back.
Things were just going everywhere. It was a nightmare. And then it was silent.
This is just the beginning of what's to come.
Camping like you've never seen it before. No, really, not ever before. Sam Champion and Jim Cantore head into the woods this week.
Is it camping or is it glamping? But before they go, they're learning key survival tips.
I'm here with Weather Channel survival expert Creek Stewart to talk about something that's real important. A lot of people, when they go camping, Creek, they don't realize how much water they take in, fresh water. And you can't just go drink it out of the river.
That's right, man. You know, water is a critical survival priority for sure, you know, and you got to be really careful what water you drink.
But it's so heavy, you don't carry it in with you usually.
That's right. You know, in the first episode of Fat Guys in the Woods, we actually funneled water using our shelter canopy, and it saved us in the desert. And
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I thought I would show you today a really quick tip on how someone could do that in an average survival scenario.
I see you there with an umbrella, which is something I don't normally bring camping, but this would be good in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of people think of umbrellas as something to shed rainwater. But in this case, we're actually going to use it to collect it. It's all about surface area. We're going to open this up. We're going to put it right on top of a bucket, and we're going to poke holes in the bottom of it. Believe it or not, an average umbrella this size can collect up to 3 gallons of rainwater per 1 inch of rain. And that is 100% drinkable. You can literally drink it
right out of the
bucket. And that's how simple it is.
The only thing we need really is Mother Nature to cooperate.
That's right. And with the weather we've had lately, I think we're good.
Almost on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Thanks, Creek. Great tip.
All right, Sam and Jim in the woods. You don't want to miss it right here on the Weather Channel Friday morning at 7 a.m. on AMHQ.
All right. We have some wonders of weather of our own, not just Jim and Sam and Creek, who are awesome, but we have some great pictures we want to show you before we leave you this hour. And isn't that awesome? Look at that. You have Cat Island this morning. On the way back, you see a little rain shaft there. Yeah,
a little offshore thunderstorm there, at least rain shower. I don't think there's going to be thunder there, but definitely you can see how high the base of the clouds are, and you can clearly see that little area getting some rain out there in the Gulf.
And take a look. Gulf Shores, Alabama, looking good. Blue skies, blue water, white sand. What else do you need?
Perhaps a beach umbrella, a little beverage.
And neat, yeah. All right, and another great picture, Surfside Beach Pier out of South Carolina. Thank you, Matthew, for tweeting this out. And happy Sunday to you, too.
What a gorgeous sunrise there. And look at this, storm clouds rolling across Lake Ontario here. This is actually Lake Erie, I should say, from Ontario on Lake Erie. This happened yesterday afternoon, a shelf cloud.
All right, it is amazing out there. Thank you so much for joining us today here on Weekend Recharge.
Stay tuned. Weather Geeks, 2 hours or 1 hour next.
Currently in our area, 84 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sunshine and clouds mixed. High 85. Winds east at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Low 74. Winds southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy. High 88. Winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
For a tornado to actually occur in nature, conditions have to be just right. You need a cold, dry air mass and a warm, moist air mass to collide with atmospheric instabilities to create the vortex. The way it actually happens is the cold air falls and the warm air rises. And then once the warm air gets to the top, it cools off and falls, and the cold air at the bottom warms up and rises. So you get this rolling motion in the atmosphere, and eventually the instability will turn it up on its side, and you'll get the vortex that's the tornado. It causes all the destruction.
Hey guys, welcome to Weather Geeks. You just heard Dr. Travis Taylor, and wow, this is just an interesting guest today, and I'm so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Before we get started, I have to run down some credentials. Listen to this, Weather Geeks fans. Dr. Travis Taylor, he grew up in the heart of Dixie Alley in northern Alabama. He has 3 master's degrees, 2 PhDs, and these are in things like astrophysics, electrical engineering. He's a rocket scientist and a fellow NASA guy. Works for the, I think, the Army now.
The Army now, right.
Has written 15 science fiction novels. He's a black belt, is in a rock band, and a pilot, and he's one of the stars of the new show, 3 Scientists Walk Into a Bar. Thank you for joining us. Tell us all about this show. What's that about? I mean, tell us about that, because the title's a little bit interesting.
Yeah, right. 3 scientists walk into a bar. Well, you think about it, if 3 scientists walk into a bar, what are they going to do? They're not just going to sit there and just, you know, drink beer and eat nuts. They're going to be talking about the stuff they do every day. And so we're talking about anything that could happen out there, because, you know, it is so amazing out there that you want to dig into every little thing. What I tell people I like to do is I like to tear things apart, so I can see what makes them tick, and then put them back together again.
Okay, so you're like a science MacGyver, so to speak?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I would like to think that.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw in that clip there, you were talking about tornado dynamics, and so I know you have some shows coming up, the show May 31st or so, and I've seen some clips. There's some really interesting clips. You built a tornado machine. You're using fireworks to explain or test the theory about, you know, lightning and thunder. Tell us a little bit about some of the weather shows you've done.
Well, we wanted to simulate a tornado so that we could show anybody the basis of how a tornado works. And I wanted to do it open air. If you look at tornado simulators, they're usually in a box, in a glass container or something. I wanted it open air so it'd be like a real tornado. And it turns out it's not real easy to make a real tornado, but we ended up making about a 15-foot tall tornado. It hit speeds around 50, 60 mile an hour, and I took it to my daughter's elementary school gymnasium, had all the kids come in and had to make paper houses and cars, and we set it out and we rolled the tornado over it to show them what would happen, because all of them thought, you know, the debris would fly away, but it sucks it up into the vortex and then spins it out, and centrifugal force is what throws it away.
Now, what about, I mean, you know, lightning, a big hazard in weather? I mean, you've done some... What about Tesla coils and fluorescent bulbs?
Well, the first thing is to simulate what lightning is, which is an electric arc, right? A very big electric arc. So we used a very big Tesla coil to show that we could make lightning jump, you know, a couple of meters. But imagine, and that was millions of volts to jump a couple of meters. Now imagine jumping, you know, 40,000 feet or whatever a lightning strike might do. That's an immense amount of power. But there's this thing that everybody hears as a kid or whatever. When it thunders, if you count, you know, 1001, that's a mile before you see the lightning.
We teach that sometimes in our classes.
Well, but I wanted to make sure that everybody was doing it the right way. And so we used large mortar shell fireworks to simulate the lightning. And we set it out at known distances and launched the fireworks. And as it goes bang, you know, you see the flash. And then we had a sound meter calculating from the time triggered when we see the flash to when we hear the sound at a known distance. And it turns out you need to count 5 seconds, not 1 second.
So yeah, and I mean, I think the clips I've seen, I mean, it's just fascinating. I think Weather Geeks' audience and fans are really going to love the show. I mean, how do you go about selecting your experiments? I mean, and I know you don't just do weather. You were telling me about some things you've been doing, you know, with various Earth.
It's all about from, you know, the center of the Earth out into space. Anything that's Earth related, about all these parts of the planet that are exciting and interesting and unique. One thing is about volcanoes. You know, there actually is sort of a weather pattern underneath the surface of the Earth, And so we wanted to...
There's convection down there.
So we wanted to do some experiments about volcanoes and explain why some volcanoes blow big piles of material into the sky and do devastation. Some just blow off the tops of the mountains, and some just kind of bubble out and roll down the side. So we did an experiment using the little balls, plastic balls like ping pong balls and so on, and we fill up in water vats and explosives. Actually, we used liquid nitrogen, and as it boiled and expanded, boom, it blows up. And so we would determine from different size canisters, you know, how a volcano would react.
Now one of the things I want to get get into, as you describe that, you use some interesting materials in your experiments. Some of them, let's say, have a little danger involved. Have you had any interesting experiences that you want to tell us about, or has everything pretty much been according to plan?
Everything has been safe, perfectly safe. Nobody's been harmed, and all of the experiments have been well thought through, so we didn't do anything that anybody could get harmed. Like when we do explosives or anything that could explode, like for example, freezing water in steel pipes, that actually becomes very explosive.
Sure.
And I had calculated that you might have shrapnel that would be like a bullet.
Right.
So we built a bulletproof enclosure to do the experiment in, to make sure nobody gets hurt in the situation. And believe me, it makes quite a bang when a steel pipe goes pop because you had ice inside of it.
Yeah, I bet. Now, you know, you do have weather and various earth sciences material on the show. Do you have any weather consultants or meteorologists involved, or are you just relying on your vast knowledge as a scientist?
Well, the other two scientists involved in the show offer up ideas as well, and then we've talked to Dr. Forbes, actually.
Right.
We've actually vetted some of our ideas through any of the folks here at the Weather Channel. They're interested in seeing it, and we get a lot of feedback, actually.
Sure, I bet.
Everybody's actually really interested because the experiments are fun.
Yes, yes.
And that's the best way I've always found to demonstrate a scientific concept that may be esoteric or difficult to get your noggin around, is to make it fun so that everybody wants to watch. And make it have an exciting thing at the end, so you're going to hang in there until you see if it's going to work or not, which is the way science is.
Yeah, exactly, and that's really what we try to do on this show here. And when we come back, we've got a lot more with Dr. Travis Taylor. But next on Weather Geeks, no one can forget the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. There was some really interesting weather-related phenomena associated with that. I'm going to talk with Dr. Taylor about that more after the break. But first, our Geek of the Week.
Hey, Marshall, we've got not one Geek of the Week, but two, yes! Steve Ackerman and John Martin. They're professors in the Department of Atmospheric and Oceanic Sciences at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. Our geeks are known as the Weather Guys, yes, thanks to their monthly live-in show on Wisconsin Public Radio. These PhDs love the radiative transfer equation and quasi-geostrophic dynamics. But Steve also likes curling. And John, yes, he sings in a rock band. You know what? I used to be a part of that rock band, too. A rock band called the Sundogs. How about that for a shout-out? Well, congratulations to this week's Geeks of the Week!
Can a protein originally found in a jellyfish improve your memory? Our scientists say yes. Researchers have discovered a protein that actually supports healthier brain function. It's the breakthrough in a supplement called Prevagen. As we age, we lose proteins that support our brain. Prevagen supplements these proteins and has been clinically shown to improve memory. It's safe and effective. For support of healthier brain function, a sharper mind, and clearer thinking, try Prevagen for yourself today.
What's up with your car?
Pretty sure it's possessed and out of warranty.
I'm going to cost you a fortune at the dealership, Cheryl.
Well, at Midas, our experts will tell you what needs fixing now and what can wait. And they don't laugh at people.
I'm sorry, Cheryl. No, I'm not. I am not sorry at all.
Get the Midas Touch maintenance package with oil change, tire rotation, and more. Use your Midas credit card and get a rebate of $20. Go to Midas.com to make an appointment. Trust the Midas Touch.
Fat Guys in the Woods. New season starts in 1 week on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 84 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sunshine and clouds mixed. High 85. Winds east at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy sky. Monday, partly cloudy. High 88. Winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Fat Guys in the Woods. Woods. New season June 7th on the Weather Channel.
Did you know only 1% of supplements have earned the USP mark, an independent certification for quality and purity? I recommend Nature Made because they've earned the most of any brand.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended letter vitamin brand.
New Flonase Allergy Relief Nasal Spray. This changes everything. Flonase is the 24-hour relief that outperforms a leading allergy pill. When we breathe in allergens, our bodies react by overproducing 6 key inflammatory substances that cause our symptoms. Most allergy pills only control one substance. Flonase controls 6, and 6 is greater than 1. So go ahead, inhale life, excite your senses, seize the day and the night. New Flonase. 6 is greater than 1. This changes everything.
Making a fist. Something we do to show resolve, to defend ourselves, to declare victory.
That's how you do it.
So CVS Health provides expert support and vital medicine
Make a fist for me?
at our infusion centers or in patients' homes. We help them fight the good fight. CVS Health, because health is everything.
Working on my feet all day gave me pain here
In my lower back.
But now I step on this machine and get my number, which matches my Dr. Scholl's custom fit orthotic inserts. Now I get immediate relief from my foot pain.
My lower back pain.
Find a machine at drscholls.com.
And we are back, and you're getting 2 rocket scientists for the price of 1. I spent 12 years of my career at NASA, but Travis Taylor, you did some work at NASA and for various federal agencies over the years. What did you do at NASA?
Well, I've done everything from high-energy laser systems to in-space spacecraft. My big thing is propulsion. Okay. Designing rocket engines and solar sails,
Yes.
like the one that's recently launched, right? And I've done, you name it, it comes to spacecraft. If you show a passion for it, you can get in there somehow, stick your nose into the tent and work on it.
Yeah,
right?
I want to take advantage of you. We were talking about, our weather geeks are familiar with this notion of not getting under an overpass if there's a tornado.
Right.
And you had an interesting sort of propulsion-related sort of analogy to that. Why don't you tell us about that?
Right. Well, if you think about it, you always hear if there's a tornado coming and you're on the road, do you park under an overpass or out in the open? Well, if you're a rocket scientist, it should be obvious to you, right? Because the overpass is what's the throat of a rocket nozzle. So a rocket nozzle starts wide in the compression chamber and in the combustion chamber, and it gets smaller at the throat, and then it gets larger at the exhaust. And the speed is always fastest at the throat.
Yeah, exactly.
So the flow speed is right there. So why do you want to get in the place where the wind is going to be the hardest and the heaviest and the fastest?
Right, and I think this is a challenge of communication in our field often. Now, kind of getting back to rockets a little bit, everyone knows about the 1986 Space Shuttle program and the Challenger, the disaster.
Right.
What was sort of an interesting weather angle that you've often talked about?
Right, I've researched this a lot in my career, and a lot of people think that it was just the cold weather causing the O-rings on the solid rocket motors to get hardened, and then they wouldn't seal off, and so you had gas escape. Well, what everybody doesn't realize is just a few seconds after that happened, some gas did escape, but then it welded itself back shut, right? But once it got higher up into the air, about 60 seconds or so into the flight, it hit a really hard shear layer.
Yeah, wind shear, so the wind speeds are changing.
250 miles per hour difference, right?
Yeah.
And at that moment, what some people have theorized happened was one of the bolts may have got hit by the gas at the bottom when it broke when it first launched and weakened the bolt. But that shear layer finally ripped it loose from one of the solid rocket motors, and then it hit the top of the external tank, punctured the tank, and then you have propellants flying out everywhere, and that's what ignited, and then that's what caused the disaster.
And so certainly weather, some hidden weather phenomena that didn't get as much press.
Most people thought it was just the cold air, but it was the cold air and the high winds aloft.
Now speaking of aloft and getting you write these science fiction novels, and one of your claims to fame is you try to have very scientifically accurate science fiction novels. I mean, and briefly tell us a little bit about some of your novels and your philosophy for writing.
Well, what I write is science fiction. I've written, actually turned in my 16th novel just a week or so ago. Yeah. But the premise of most of my books are based in real science, real physics, that is then a speculation on what we could do with that, right? We have shown, for example, that in all of the aspects of general relativity, you could go faster than the speed of light if you manipulated space-time a certain way with like warp theory, like in
so we're
various
talking about
TV
some
shows.
Star Trek type stuff here. So.
But you could actually do it, but in my books, I would go through the details on how you'd have to get there. And go into it. You know, if somebody is going to jump off of a spacecraft and hope they're going to grab a hold to another spacecraft, well, I'm going to go into the details of the laws of inertia and action and reaction and all that so that it makes sense, right? And nobody's going to be poking holes at it, because science fiction readers are very good at nitpicking holes.
Right, well, and so are weather readers as well.
I imagine.
Well, and we'll come back next on Weather Geeks. We're going to geek out on a really interesting thunderstorm and lightning complex that we saw in South America. We've got some really interesting thoughts on this next on Weather Geeks.
The all-new Fiat 500X crossover. Ooh. Bigger, more powerful, and ready for action.
People think if they don't check their credit score, they don't have one. But they do. Your score still needs someone to take care of it. It needs your help. For the low price of completely free forever, you can get your credit score from CreditKarma.com. Credit Karma will give you your score for free and show you what you can do to nurture it. Love your score. Take care of it for free at CreditKarma.com.
Deep in the dark, untouched recesses of your engine is power you never knew it could produce. And Vapor can set it free. New Stable 360 Performance unleashes that exclusive Vapor technology that rises above the fuel line to protect your engine where other additives can't, to help keep your engine running cleaner, leaner, smoother, and stronger than ever. The next level of performance is in the Vapor Stable 360 Performance.
Get ready for the passion, the pageantry, the drama. The NCAA Golf Championships. Men's Individual Championship tomorrow with Team Championship Tuesday and Wednesday, only on Golf Channel.
The Luxury Uncovered event is going on now at Alpaca Lincoln. Enjoy exceptional savings on your favorite Lincoln models, like a 2015 Lincoln MKX, just $389 a month, or the new 2015 Lincoln Navigator, just $599 a month. And bottom line windshield pricing on over 200 new Lincolns. The Luxury Uncovered event at Alpaca Lincoln on Military Trail. And remember, before you buy, price Packer.
Xfinity sales professionals are always on the go, meeting new people every day. They're helping families get the latest Xfinity products and services. And they're making customers happy. Jumpstart your career with the best sales training in the industry. Great benefits like discounts on your own Xfinity services and the potential for high earnings. Have what it takes? Apply today and see what doors open for you.
Fat Guys in the Woods. New season starts in 1 week on the Weather Channel.
In a matter of seconds, your life can change.
My kid's still into school.
And it just hit us.
This was it. The Weather Channel's most watched original program is back.
Things were just going everywhere. It was a nightmare. And then it was silent.
This is just the beginning of what's to come.
Currently in our area, 85 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sunshine and clouds mixed. High 86. Winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy intervals, low 74. Winds southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy, high 88. Winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Now, how many of you have heard of Catatumbo lightning? It's a part of South America where the storms just produce frequent and almost constant lightning. And some of the theories associated with this particular lightning have ranged from warm, moist water over warm lakes to what we call orographic lifting, or lifting up over mountains. But Travis has another theory that he thinks might be at play. What are you thinking?
Well, in this region, there's a lot of uranium been detected, and radon gas is a decay product of that. And when you have decay of radioactive material, you have gamma rays and so on that enter the atmosphere, and it changes the electric field constants of the atmosphere, yes, which would make lightning more likely. Right. It's like when lightning is actually more likely to strike in the same place twice, sure, because you create a pathway for it. Sure. Well, I think this whole region is a good pathway for lightning.
A big, large ionized sort of area. Yeah, and I've seen some studies in the geologic literature that suggest that as well. So it's really an interesting theory. So if you haven't really seen that lightning, Google that out there. And I know we were just showing you some really interesting clips. Just really fascinating. I want to come back a little closer to home because you grew up in northern Alabama. We've had James Spann on talking about the outbreaks and tornadic storms a couple of years ago. But, you know, there's really some data and even your own personal experience that suggests that this so-called Dixie Alley, and particularly northern Alabama around Huntsville, might be prone to tornadoes?
Oh, well, I can tell you from personal experience it is. I was 6 years old when the super outbreak in 1974 happened, and they were all around where I lived then. And then in 2011, 3 tornadoes passed within a mile of my house in one day, in like 8 or 9 hours.
And many of these have been EF5 level tornadoes.
That big EF5 that was on the ground for like 132 miles missed my house by 1/8 of a mile. It tore the back porch off my house and threw it through the roof, and houses next door, like just 1/8 of a mile away, there was a path a mile wide that was just gone.
Wow, and yeah, we're seeing some of the footage there from some of these storms, and yeah, you can see the tornado history there in Huntsville, Rocket City, USA. It's really interesting, this sort of mini tornado alley, if you will. And in fact, there's an upcoming Vortex Southeast, a big federal program. Most of these have been out in the Great Plains in the Midwest, but researchers are coming to the south to look at storms, and I think they're going to kind of maybe park in one place. It's kind of tough to chase in the southeast, but certainly some of your anecdotal and even more experienced information suggests this is a good place to come study tornadoes.
Right, well, from that track, you can see, just park your equipment in one place. The tornadoes are going to come to you.
Yeah, and you know, there's research out there, and certainly there's more research that's needed. Now, yeah, you know, as we kind of, I mean, I think this is going to be a really interesting show. The clips that I've seen for 3 scientists walk into a bar, you know, hopefully it's clarified a little bit to some of our viewers, because it really is a science show. It's got some good weather and geosciences information.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
What would you offer to those that might want to sample your show?
Well, I'd first say if you want to see some clips and some more about the 3 scientists, go to the 3 Scientists Facebook page.
You have a Facebook page right now, yes.
Go there and check it out, and we have clips that's really fun. We've got some experiments, and we put new stuff on there every day. Like just last night, I made a fire-nado and filmed it, so it'll go on there at some point. You can see how that works.
And certainly fire-nados are very much a part of wildfire weather and some of the things we see, and with the dryness out in the West, I mean, that's certainly relevant. Now, when does the show air?
May 31st. They're going to run 3 episodes that Sunday night.
And will any of those episodes be some of the weather-focused episodes?
Oh, yeah, I think all of them are.
Okay, so they're all going to
be the tornado, I think, and then lightning, and the experiments that I talked about with the fireworks and so on.
Yeah, and in this last 30 seconds or so, Travis, what do you tell kids when you go out and so? I bet you speak to kids quite often.
All the time.
What's a message that you leave for kids?
Well, I always give them 2 things that I want them to walk away from. And one is how amazing the universe is. I want them to go and dig into it, and don't be afraid to take things apart and put them back together. Sometimes that won't work right, but that's okay, as long as mom and dad gave you permission.
Sure.
And then the other thing I always tell them is that the dinosaurs didn't have a space program, because I want them to realize that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've seen Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about that. You know, asteroids are nature's way of warning us about our space program.
That's exactly right.
So, yeah, but, you know, we want to thank you for coming on Weather Geeks.
this was fun.
Welcome back anytime. And Weather Geek fans, if you have feedback, you can always follow us at our Twitter site, and we also have a Facebook page as well. You see those on the screen. Join us next week on Weather Geeks.
Thompson's Water Seal Waterproofing Stain. The seal you can trust, with stain and sealer in one, and easy to choose colors. Exceptional beauty and protection have never been easier. Thompson's Water Seal Waterproofing Stain, available at the Home Depot.
It's a beautiful day to use Thompson's Water Seal.
Okay guys, we've got 2 cars here, and we're gonna start watching a movie in the Chevy Malibu.
He's flying!
Okay guys, pause the movie. We're gonna watch the rest of it in the Toyota Camry. Hit play again.
What happened? You can't watch the movie.
Back in the Chevy Malibu.
Let's go! Peace out.
Chevrolet, the first and only car company to bring built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi to cars, trucks, and crossovers.
This is cool. Yeah.
Can't believe how good these Kevin Durant signature slushes are. Kev, show them how you dunk on a slush.
Yeah.
Waboosh!
Oh, is that it? You really hang out with this guy?
Waboosh!
Up your game with the new Kevin Durant signature candy slush. This is how you Sonic.
14 clubs. That's what they tell us a legal golf bag can hold. And while that leaves a little room for balls and tees, it doesn't leave room for much else. There's no room left for deadlines or conference calls. Not a single pocket to hold the stress of the day or the to-do list of tomorrow. Only 14 clubs. Pick out the right one and drive it right down the middle of pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Walmart's low prices every day, it's not just about having more savings. It's about having more fun. Great get-togethers start with low prices you can trust every day.
Bridgestone is changing the game in tire performance.
So Will Arnett can get to the store when he's out of diapers.
Well, to be clear, they're not for me. They're for my son. So we should probably go.
We switched Will's tires to Bridgestone's revolutionary Drive Guard tires.
Oh, those look sharp.
It's okay. Our Drive Guard tires are engineered to take a puncture and drive up to 50 miles on a flat, so no side of the road.
Well, that's good because the side of the road is dangerous, especially since we're going commando.
Weird?
What commando mean?
My budget was always second-guessing me when I'd buy stuff for the family. Finger hut, finger hut, finger hut, finger hut. At fingerhut.com, we can shop with low monthly payments and over 200,000 items and growing from brands like Samsung, Lego, and KitchenAid. Just click on over to fingerhut.com to get the credit you deserve and great stuff for your family. Oh, not Fingerhut. I got that at a garage sale for $1.
In a matter of seconds, your life can change.
We had kids still in school.
And it just hit us.
This was it.
The Weather Channel's most watched original program is back.
Things were just going everywhere. It was a nightmare. And then it was silent.
This is just the beginning of what's to come.
Currently in our area, 85 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sunshine and clouds mixed. High 86. Winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy intervals. Low 74. Winds southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy. High 88. Winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Where you get your weather
matters.
This is a large and dangerous tornado.
That's why we get real local the moment you need it.
We are live in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Florida.
Real accurate.
This is round one of the severe storms that are coming through.
From real experts on the ground.
That is a gust front for you right there in Dusty, Texas. Wow.
Where you get your weather matters.
This is basically what makes the Weather Channel
Keep the Weather Channel on. Here at the Weather Channel.
The Weather Channel is out in full force today.
Only the Weather Channel.
Go!
Tonight.
Run like an eagle!
Look at that!
Three Scientists Walk Into a Bar is a show where we explain the weather
by doing simple experiments.
I lit my hand on fire and also explosions.
Join us for a 3-episode sneak peek of Three Scientists Walk Into a Bar tonight at 7 on the Weather Channel.
And welcome to Weather Geeks. It is almost hurricane season 2015, so we've invited two of the top hurricane experts in the nation to join us. I'm joined today by Dr. Phil Klotzbach from Colorado State University, a research scientist there, and also Eric Blake, a hurricane specialist at the National Hurricane Center. Thanks both for joining us today.
Thank you.
So let's get right into it, because you guys sort of make seasonal predictions of the hurricane season, its activity. How is that done? What's involved in that? Now, Phil, let's go to you.
Yeah, we use a variety of large-scale features. What we basically do is we know historical hurricane seasons, which were active and which were inactive, and then what we've done is gone back into the past and said, okay, what sets of climate conditions were present before active seasons and which set were before inactive? And generally you'll find certain sets of conditions tend to reappear year after year. Now these seasonal forecasts, and when you look at weather and climate patterns, there are years where things don't necessarily work out the way you planned. Sure. But in general, things like El Nino, which is warmer than normal waters in the tropical Pacific.
Which we're in right now.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. And what that usually does is it increases upper level westerly winds in the Caribbean into the tropical Atlantic, which increases vertical shear, the change in wind direction with height, tears apart the storms, Atlantic basin water temperatures, pressures, variety of things like that. It's kind of how we start putting these forecasts together, is looking at these large-scale relationships.
Now, and Eric, how far in advance of the season do you start looking at some of these variables, and what else do you consider that perhaps Phil didn't mention?
Well, usually I'll start looking at it in the spring. Kind of in the winter time, we'll be looking at things, but there's really no skill at that time. And then April, May, we'll start putting together some of the information we look at for the seasonal forecast. We use basically some of the same things: El Nino, Atlantic water temperatures, multi-decadal cycle. All those are factored in the forecast.
Now, is there one predictor, one variable that either of you has found the most successful or most predictor of what we're going to see? Sahelian rainfall, El Nino. I mean, it really is just a mix. I mean, Phil, is there one kind of smoking gun variable?
Yeah, well, it kind of depends on when during the season. I mean, I think earlier in the season, you kind of look at maybe going out a little bit further. You might look more kind of what the large scale was during the winter. We put out our first forecast in early April. And then as you kind of get closer into the peak of the season, we usually put out our last forecast in early August. NOAA does an update then as well. You kind of zoom in and really look and see, okay, what do the pressures in the Caribbean look like? What are the low level winds in the Caribbean? Those kind of predictors actually are very good, but that information is really not available until July, right. Which is prior. It's 2 months into the season, but prior to the active part. So that's why I think both of us update our forecasts around that time to give you one kind of best forecast of the season.
Yeah. Anything we add to that? Yeah.
Yeah, what Phil is right. We really look at the low-level winds and the sea level pressures. In June and July can really give you a clue what happens. And the reason we update the forecast is most of the hurricane activity, especially the strongest hurricanes, occur after August 1st.
Sure.
So there's definitely some value in updating then.
And I want to kind of ask you about NOAA, for example. I know Phil and the colleagues at Colorado State and Bill Gray before you, who I know you work with, issue a number. We're going to have this number of storms. NOAA tends to do sort of a range or a probability of range. What's the rationale behind that?
Well, there's kind of an uncertainty factor. We don't think we're good enough to say exactly this storm, so we try to give about a 2/3 range in what they're predicting.
Meteorologist, wow. Yeah, nice. Phil, what about you? Why do you guys make the decision to issue a number, given what Eric just said about maybe our uncertainty?
Yeah, well, in the forecast itself, we do have a plus or minus error bar base. It's basically what Eric said, similar, 2/3 of our real-time forecasts over the past, say, 20 years is what we put in there. But when it comes to actually messaging the forecast itself, we put out one number. Obviously, there is uncertainty in the numbers, but we find sometimes if you put out one number as opposed to a range, sometimes when you put out a range, the message can get lost. I've seen things where people will say, just take the high end of the range or the low end of the range and run with that, whereas if you just put out one number, at least they theoretically shouldn't get that one wrong.
Yeah, and then a little later in the show after the break, I think we're going to go over what some of your thoughts are on what you think, Phil, the season looks like, and you know, some other things as well. But getting back to how it's done, do you guys talk to each other or say anything to each other, get some advice from each other? Eric?
Well, we'll definitely talk during the preseason. You know, there's a time when you know, there's kind of a blackout on NOAA forecasters talking throughout, but after that period's done, we talk all the time.
Now, explain that blackout. I found that to be kind of interesting there. You were saying that there's sort of a period of time where you really, as NOAA, can't say much about there. Is there a rationale behind that?
It's linked to, it's kind of like the crop report. If the official government forecast is for above normal or below normal, it can have some impact on prices, and NOAA really didn't want to be involved with that.
Sure.
That's why the blackout's there.
Yeah, but you all don't really have these same constraints. Is that right, Phil?
No, it's being at university. I mean, I talk with Eric, I talk with a lot of other people, get input from other sources prior to putting out these forecasts. And obviously Dr. Gray is even though I'm taking over as lead author, Dr. Gray obviously still has a large input into what these forecasts are as well.
Yeah, and we're talking here with two of the experts on seasonal prediction, and you did mention Dr. Gray, who you've started off as a graduate student of, and both of you are CSU alum, and actually you overlapped as well, and then you moved into the lead role. Curious, over that time from, I guess, 1984, when this kind of started, what technology has emerged that has changed what you do in this regard, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, I think it's really a testament to Dr. Gray in that when he started putting out these forecasts in the early 1980s, he kind of had to intuitively know what he was looking for, because obviously now you can use your computer, you can just plot you can plot differences in pressures, winds, temperatures, correlations, all these things with in seconds. Whereas Dr. Gray had to basically call people up on the phone and get them to send data. I mean, it's a lot easier now than it was then. So I think that really is a testament to his creativity, but also kind of his intuitive knowledge as to what he was looking for when he got these forecasts going in the early 1980s. And one thing that is cool is over the last 6 months, we actually scanned in every single prediction that we put out. So with our prediction, not only is there the numbers, there's also a fairly extensive document that goes into discussing why we are putting out the numbers that we are. So we have that for posterity, and we have every single forecast back to 1984. We had every single one but one, and I think it was August 1988, and Eric, I emailed Eric and asked if he had a copy, and he said no, but try Chris Lancy, who was another former student of Dr. Gray's. And Chris Lancy had that forecast, so we scanned it in, so we have every forecast back to back to June 84, which was the first prediction.
Right, and that's really interesting to hear that. Okay, we're going to actually get back to you and want to see what you guys think about the upcoming season here in a moment. But first, when we get back on Weather Geeks, we're going to actually take a look at what really is going into this year's seasonal forecast, given El Nino and all that's out there. But first, our Geek of the Week.
Dr. Michael Ventris, a die-hard Yankee fan, way to go, Mike, and operational scientist at WSI, is this week's Geek of the Week. Mike enjoys tracking the MJO, and his favorite weather term is velocity potential. I got a party with this guy. His love for hurricanes began back in 1991 when Hurricane Bob rolled by Long Island. Mike also appreciates a good sunset, especially when the whole sky turns red. Congrats to Michael Ventris, our Geek of the Week.
Can a protein originally found in a jellyfish improve your memory? Our scientists say yes. Researchers have discovered a protein that actually supports healthier brain function. It's the breakthrough in a supplement called Prevagen. As we age, we lose proteins that support our brain. Prevagen supplements these proteins and has been clinically shown to improve memory. It's safe and effective. For support of healthier brain function, a sharper mind, and clearer thinking, try Prevagen for yourself today.
As the next system moves in, make sure your vehicle is prepared. Rain, mud, dirt, and sand. With the advanced technology of WeatherTech floor liners, your vehicle is protected against the elements. Laser measured for a perfect fit, front, back, and even up the sides. Simply go to WeatherTech.com and order your ultimate vehicle protection today. Or call 1-800-CarMats. Stay one step ahead of the weather with WeatherTech.
Guys in the Woods. New season June 7th on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 85 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sunshine and clouds mixed. High 86. Winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy intervals. Monday, partly cloudy. High 88. Winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Fat Guys in the Woods. New season starts in 1 week on the Weather Channel.
If you're an adult with type 2 diabetes and your A1C is not at goal with certain diabetes pills or daily insulin, your doctor may be talking about adding medication to help lower your A1C. Ask your doctor if adding once-a-week Tanzium is right for you. Once-a-week Tanzium is an injectable prescription medicine that may improve blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes, along with diet and exercise. Once-a-week Tanzium works by helping your body release its own natural insulin when it's needed. Tanzium is not recommended as the first medicine to treat diabetes or in people with severe stomach or intestinal problems. Tanzium is not insulin. It is not used to treat type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis and has not been studied with mealtime insulin. Do not take Tanzium if you or your family have a history of medullary thyroid cancer or multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if you're allergic to Tanzium or any of its ingredients. Stop using Tanzium and call your doctor right away if you experience symptoms of a serious allergic reaction, which may include itching, rash, or difficulty breathing. If you have signs of pancreatitis, such as severe stomach pain that will not go away and may move to your back, with or without vomiting. Or if you have symptoms of thyroid cancer, which include a lump or swelling in your neck, hoarseness, trouble swallowing, or shortness of breath. Before using Tanzium, talk to your doctor about your medical conditions, all medicines you're taking, if you're nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant, and about low blood sugar and how to manage it. Taking Tanzium with a sulfonylurea or insulin increases your risk for low blood sugar. Common side effects with Tanzium include diarrhea, nausea, injection site reactions, cough, back pain, and cold or flu symptoms. Some serious side effects can lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney failure. Ask your doctor if adding once-a-week Tanzium is right for you. Go to Tanzium.com to learn if you may be eligible to receive Tanzium free for 12 months. Make every week a Tanzium week.
And we are back on Weather Geeks, and we're talking about seasonal forecasts just on the verge of the 2015 hurricane season. And I know many want to know, what are these experts thinking? So I know, Phil Klotzbach, you have preliminary. We're taping this early May, but as you're seeing this air, we're a couple of days out from the season, and we're going to put up the numbers, but we're talking about this kind of forecasting the forecast, so to speak. So Phil, what are you thinking now versus perhaps in a couple of weeks, and do you change your forecast?
Yeah, we put out our first forecast in early April. At that point, we were calling for 7 named storms, 3 of those 7 becoming hurricanes, and 1 of those 3 becoming a major category 3, 4, 5 storm on the Saffir-Simpson wind scale, winds of 111 miles per hour or greater. That's well below normal. An average season has about 12 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes, so only about half of the average hurricane season. Due to a couple of factors, one being El Nino. Right. We have a weak to moderate El Nino event that we believe is probably going to continue to intensify.
So these numbers we're seeing now probably aren't different from those early spring numbers that you've issued then.
That's correct, yeah. So we'll be updating our forecast on June the 1st. Right. And we'll have a new set of numbers then. Perhaps they will change a little bit. It's hard to say at this point.
Right, and certainly, what about you guys? And I know you can't really say as much, but what are some of the things that are going to go into that factoring as we see these new NOAA numbers numbers come out that we actually can't see right now?
Well, one thing that we have that maybe Colorado State doesn't use is we use a variety of GCM forecasts.
Right.
The European Center has one. We run a high-resolution climate forecast system that we aid in our forecast.
And this is in collaboration with CPC, the NOAA Climate Prediction Center?
The Climate Prediction Center runs the CFS, the high-res CFS, special for the seasonal hurricane forecast. And we'll take all that information into account when we're making our seasonal forecast.
Okay, good. So there is a collaboration. Well, one of the questions, and I spoke with the administrator of FEMA about this. Why do we do this? What's the value? I mean, you can't tell where each hurricane is going to form, where it's going to go. So, Phil, what do you think the value of doing this is?
I think there's just a lot of inherent curiosity amongst the general public. I mean, people want to know how active you think the hurricane season is likely to be. And these forecasts show about moderate skill. I mean, they're certainly not perfect. We've had large busts, but in general, they give you some idea as to how active the season is going to be. And we emphasize every time we put out these forecasts, obviously NOAA does as well, is that you can't say when or where the storms are going to go, and that you need to be prepared the same every year for hurricane season, because it just takes that one storm to make it an active season for you. Great case in point of that is 1992. Dr. Gray had a great forecast that year of only one major hurricane. There was only one. It just happened to be a strong Category 5, downtown Miami. And obviously Andrew did a huge amount of damage.
Right, and no, Eric, in general, forecasts not at the seasonal, but even at sort of lower temporal scales have improved. You tweeted something about the cone getting better between Katrina 2005 versus now. This really illustrates that skill is improving. Are there any 7-day forecast ideas coming, and should we be doing 2-week forecast discussions? What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, the Hurricane Center is running an experiment, 6- and 7-day forecasts, and hopefully those will be out in the public in the next few years. And we're also in the process of looking at longer-term forecasts, maybe 1-week forecasts over the next 5 years or so, and perhaps over with the Climate Prediction Center, there'll be a week 2 forecast, but that's still a ways out.
Yeah, so we're still getting a little bit out for that, Phil. I mean, do you think those are useful from your vantage point? Yeah,
we do. We actually do 2-week outlooks from Colorado State, but that's only once every 2 weeks, where we try to basically use a combination of GCM output along with some of the wave features that usually impact storms on these shorter timescales. Right. But that's fairly simple at this point.
Right. And so, you know, when we get back on Weather Geeks, we are entering, or some say we're entering, a period of quiescent hurricanes. We have a hurricane drought. What does all of that mean? We're going to ask these two experts when we come back on Weather Geeks.
Did you know only 1% of supplements have earned the USP mark? An independent certification for quality and purity. I recommend Nature Made because they've earned the most of any brand.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended fish oil brand.
We all enter this world with a shout. Robert! And we see no reason to stop. Yeah! So CVS Health is creating industry-leading programs and tools that help people stay on medicines as their doctors prescribed. It could help save tens of thousands of lives every year. And that would be something worth shouting about. CVS Health, because health is everything.
Need new tires? Right now at Pep Boys, when you get 3 Falcon, Cooper, or Hankook tires, you get the 4th tire free instantly. Plus, get no interest and paid in full within 12 months on your Pep Boys credit card. Trust the boys to get you there.
Get ready for the passion, the pageantry, the drama. The NCAA Golf Championships. Men's Individual Championship tomorrow with Team Championship Tuesday and Wednesday, only on Golf Channel.
Imagine waking up every morning to a beautiful, lush, perfectly manicured lawn. You don't have to imagine anymore. Located in Jupiter, Synthetic Turf International is the global leader in synthetic landscape solutions, putting greens, and functional activity surfaces. And STI Jupiter was just chosen to provide and install the synthetic turf for the tailgate field next to this year's college football championship game in Dallas. So stop at the mowing. Let our trained staff show you how your lawn can start paying you. Call for a free quote. Synthetic Turf International.
Xfinity sales professionals are always on the go, meeting new people every day. They're helping families get the latest Xfinity products and services. And they're making customers happy. Jumpstart your career with the best sales training in the industry. Great benefits like discounts on your own Xfinity services and the potential for high earnings. Have what it takes? Apply today and see what doors open for you.
Fat Guys in the Woods. New season June 7th on the Weather Channel. Where you get your weather matters.
This is a large and dangerous tornado.
That's why we get real local the moment you need it.
We are live in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Florida.
Real accurate.
This is round one of the severe storms that are coming through.
From real experts on the ground.
That is a gust front for you right there in Dusty, Texas. Wow.
Where you get your weather matters.
This is basically what makes the Weather Channel
Keep the Weather Channel on.
Here at the Weather Channel.
The Weather Channel is out in full force today.
Only the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 85 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sunshine and clouds mixed. High 86. Winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy intervals, low 74. Winds southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy, high 88. Winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
And you just saw the Weather Geeks trivia question. Wow, I mean, Hurricane Wilma, the last major hurricane to hit Florida. In fact, the last major hurricane to hit, period, in the U.S. I mean, what's going on? Are we in a drought? Are we in a quiet period? And is something causing this? Is it dumb luck? I saw an article recently, USA Today, that said maybe it's just luck. I mean, Phil, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, it definitely is a record. We've gone 9 years without a major hurricane making landfall. That breaks the old record of 8 years set from 1861 to 1868, which obviously was very extensive, obviously a very long time ago.
Sure.
So certainly we have been very fortunate. The last 9 years, we really haven't been below average for the whole Atlantic Basin. It's been a little bit above.
Right.
So we've gone 25 major hurricanes in a row without a U.S. landfall. On average, about 30% of all the major hurricanes that form make U.S. landfall. So to go that long without any is really quite remarkable. And I think there obviously is probably a very sizable luck component. We've had some close calls, some systems that were very close to Category 3 that made landfall. But there's also tended to be a bit more of a trough along the East Coast, a little more low pressure, which basically causes the storms as they're moving from east to west across the basin to gain latitude, hit the jet stream, and recurve before they can make the landfall.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize something that really drives me crazy, because landfalling hurricanes doesn't mean we haven't had hurricanes out in the Atlantic Basin. I think I see out on social media a lot, people kind of get those two confused, and so I wanted to make that point. Well, Eric, what are your thoughts on sort of the period we're in, and explain to our Weather Geeks viewers what the Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation is and some of these natural cycles, because there's a debate. Let's keep it real here on Weather Geeks. Some are talking about the natural cycle versus anthropogenic climate change, but what is this AMO? And does that play a role? Or?
Sure. Well, there's a cycle of, every 20 or 30 years, the Atlantic tends to be warmer than average, and then every 20 or 30 years, it flips and it tends to be cooler than average. And these flips aren't very well forecast, and they're linked to periods of much more active landfall activity and less active landfall activity. And, I think the period we've been going through is just mostly a matter of luck. I mean, maybe Mother Nature is giving us a bit of a reprieve after all the big hurricanes in 2004 and 2005.
Ah, yes. Okay. And, even though we're in this so-called hurricane drought, or what Jeff Halverson recently called on the show, people may get hurricane amnesia. It really only takes one. I mean, if you ask the University of Kentucky basketball team, as Mark Sudduth, I mean, it just took one, even though they had a really great season. What about the satellite era? Are we seeing any inflation in naming because of that? What are your thoughts on that, Phil?
I mean, obviously there's technological improvements that have come along, and I know Chris Yancey's done some work talking about how there's been a sizable growth in the number of short-lived named storms over the course of the 20th century, and especially lately as we have improved observational techniques. But obviously Eric, working at the Hurricane Center, can probably talk to that a little more.
Yeah, and feel free to do so. And also I'm curious whether the NHC is actually finds itself naming more storms. Are there any stats on that? Or?
Well, I think we name what meets the definition, and I think we see a lot more than we used to see. The Dvorak, the satellite intensification,
sure.
The way we actually see the storms. 40 years ago, you just had a few pictures here and there. Now we have 30-minute imagery all the time, and there's no more outages, and everything's much more reliable. So we're seeing more stuff than we ever did, and probably those storms, a lot of them were there before. We just don't know that.
Right. So moving forward here, as seasonal forecasters, what really can improve your product? What technologically or model-based? What's the advance forward?
The number one thing that's come on really in the last 5 to 10 years is the advent of the global circulation models. They're really able to forecast much smaller detailed things that we weren't able to see before. We were looking at El Nino and Atlantic sea surface temperatures. These models can really simulate the interaction between these things and forecast areas of higher wind shear and lower pressure.
Right. I'm going to have to give Eric the last word because Phil had the first word, but I suspect you may have agreed with him to some degree. And that's where we have to leave it. Thank you, guys. We're starting the hurricane season on June 1st, and so we'll be coming back to you perhaps in the future. And remember, here on Weather Geeks, we have a Twitter site, WX Geeks TWC, and we also have a Facebook page where you can catch up on past episodes. We'll see you again next week on Weather Geeks.
Your relationship with your dog is pure. It's innocent. It's work, but it's perfect. You wouldn't trade it for the world. So protect your dog with Trifexis. Trifexis is the monthly beef-flavored tablet that prevents heartworm disease, kills fleas, and prevents infestations, and treats and controls hook, round, and whipworm infections. Treatment with fewer than 3 monthly doses after exposure to mosquitoes may not provide complete heartworm prevention. The most common adverse reactions were vomiting, depression, and itching. Serious adverse reactions have been reported following concurrent extra-label use of ivermectin with spinosad, one of the components of Trifexis. Prior to administration, dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection. You'll take it all, the good and the bad, because that's what makes your relationship irreplaceable. Protect your dog all year long with the 3-in-1 power of Trifexis. Available by prescription only. Talk to your veterinarian about how to protect every second you share together.
Find the perfect gift at the Men's Warehouse Grad's Favorite Sale. Right now, get select suits for $199.99. 30% off all shoes. Plus, buy one, get one free on even more, including clearance. Only at Men's Warehouse.
I'm Louie, and I quit smoking with Chantix.
I told myself for so long that I needed to quit smoking. I would quit and then I'd go right back to it. Chantix absolutely helped me quit smoking.
Along with support, Chantix Varenicline is proven to help people quit smoking.
Chantix helped reduce my urge to smoke.
Some people had changes in behavior, thinking or mood, hostility, agitation, depressed mood, and suicidal thoughts or actions while taking or after stopping Chantix. Some people had seizures while taking Chantix. If you have any of these, stop Chantix and call your doctor right away. Tell your doctor about any history of mental health problems, which could get worse while taking Chantix, or history of seizures. Don't take Chantix if you've had a serious allergic or skin reaction to it. If you develop these, stop Chantix and see your doctor right away, as some can be life-threatening. Tell your doctor if you have a history of heart or blood vessel problems or develop new or worse symptoms. Get medical help right away if you have symptoms of a heart attack or stroke. Decrease alcohol use while taking Chantix. Use caution when driving or operating machinery. Common side effects include nausea, trouble sleeping, and unusual dreams.
I'm not worried about smoking my next cigarette. To me, that feels great.
Ask your doctor if Chantix is right for you.
Advanced Design makes it easy to protect your dog or cat from fleas and ticks. Discover Seresto. With the performance you expect from topicals in a non-greasy collar, Seresto provides protection against fleas and ticks for 8 months. Seresto.
Amore.
Subito.
The all-new Fiat 500X crossover. Bigger, more powerful, and ready for action.
like a matter of seconds, your life can change.
We had kids still into school.
And it just hit us.
This was it. The Weather Channel's most watched original program is back.
Things are just going everywhere. It was a nightmare. And then it was silent.
This is just the beginning of what's to come.